Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown,
the unofficial sumo podcast
for official sumo fans.
Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown. This is Ryan.
This is Jake.
And this is Mac.
And today we are going to be talking about the 2021 U.S. Sumo National Tournament, finally.
It's only been 2 months.
We're a little late on this.
It's been 1.5 months. We did intend to wait until after the July Grand Sumo Tournament was over, and then another couple weeks passed by, just because that's what happens sometimes.
There's 3 to 4 people's lives we got to juggle with all of this at all times. So you
Very
know what?
true.
Stuff happens.
Mac's been finishing up some classes. I started
Yes.
a new job, and after first time in 7 years that I've done that. So that's a thing.
And I now have the lifelong excuse of I'm a father. Therefore,
Yep.
I can
Ryan,
just use that to claim schedule issues at any time I need to.
She's 10 months old, and we're already sick of it. So yeah, you just do what you got to do.
So now, what do you think Flarrick's excuse is going to be?
He doesn't care.
Not fair enough.
Next time
Could
he
not
shows
care
up,
enough to show up.
next time he'll be like, "I'm sorry, guys. I'm a father now. I have duties."
Oh my God,
Honestly,
when did
wouldn't
this
surprise
happen?
me.
Did somebody already use that excuse? Oh, damn. Oh man. Well, anyways, though, the Nationals tournament happened on the 19th of June. It was hosted by the United States Sumo Federation, of course. Big shout out to Ed, multiple time guest, friend of the show, at the U.S. Sumo Federation, getting that all together. It's also hosted by the Dark Circle Sumo Club out of Austin, Texas, where the event happened. So also big shout out to those guys. They put on a great show. Justin in particular managed basically the entire weekend for 100 or few people, just no big deal. One man just completely putting the team on his back. So yeah, that was awesome. They put on a great show. Last shout out before we actually get started on what happened was the guest commentary team, which was led by Sumo Kaboom. The one of the top 3 English language sumo podcasts that I know of. I don't know about you guys, but I can only think of 1 or 2 that might be better than them. One for sure, but I won't play favorites
Sumo
tonight.
Mainichi is pretty on
Yeah.
point. So yeah,
Yeah.
Oh no, I was not talking about us. No.
Yeah,
I mean, it's between those two.
absolutely not.
They probably got their stuff out more than a month ago. When
Like,
it was on time.
Timely.
In a timely manner.
That is definitely not something you'd use to describe us.
No, we have never been accused of being on the ball as far as getting things done in a timely fashion.
Basically, we do one thing every other month in a timely fashion, and that's our midway episode that we wake up early, record, and release all in one day.
Oh my God, it is.
Everything else is just
And it's hard enough to do that.
It's we may need to tone that down in the future, because damn, some days
Overachievers, man. That's what we are.
some day 8s, man, just really get you. So yeah, I've been talking for a little bit here. Mac, why don't you tell us a little bit about why don't you set the scene for us? Tell us a little bit about how where this was all taking place, how we got there, what was our first impressions when we showed up at the Nationals tournament.
Well, for those of you that haven't been to Texas before, I can sum it up in one word: hot. Texas, at least in the area that we were in, Dripping Springs, which is just outside of Austin, about 45 minutes outside of Austin. It's hot, it's humid, and when that sun starts shining, you start begging for water. Luckily, they had that on tap at Dreamland, which was really nice of them. So we go out to we're out in Dripping Springs. We go to Dreamland itself. We drive around.
What a name! Let me just
right?
interject. What a top class name Dripping Springs is.
I'm gonna say, there's a lot of names. The whole thing was kind of set up to put my expectations low. I mean, we got Texas first, Dripping Springs, which is just the word moist of city names. And then third, it was hosted at a place called Dreamland, which sounds like either a great place or a very cleverly ironic nickname.
That sounds like a rundown retirement home.
It doesn't sound promising, but it was a great place. maybe work on the marketing game there. But
It was
yeah,
great
sorry,
for
go ahead,
mini
Matt.
golf. It was set in this nice, beautiful little backdrop, little hill place, and it had a great view of the valley. It was actually a really pretty location.
Oh yeah, it was great. It's like basically a tiny amusement park set out in the like last layer of suburbs there.
So we get there and we arrive at the pickleball courts, and we find that is exactly where they are hosting this part of the tournament. That's where they've set up all the mats, and that blew me away because we have all played pickleball. We know those courts are not small. This was at least 6 pickleball courts end to end, completely booked out for not only the arena but also where the sumotori were setting up all their different camps.
Yeah, it was basically like they had like this area divided into half of it was performance, half of it was effectively a locker room. I mean, it was just the number of people there competing. It was really it was really cool to see how everybody knew each other. Everybody was getting along. Everybody was just like catching up, showing each other some moves at the beginning of the day. It was very cool, very fun, friendly atmosphere. And I wish I would have gotten more pictures of dudes in Mawashi playing pickleball because that was one of the more picturesque moments of the day. That's for sure.
Now, we walked in and we saw Ed squaring off with Jake Book. And that was really cool to see. It was like, oh my gosh, we've only ever seen Ed when we've done our exercise videos, and of course we've seen Jake do a couple of different tournaments, but never that live feel of seeing these guys square off. And I thought that
Squaring
was
off
amazing.
at pickleball or in sumo?
First one. Then
You're
the
not
other.
wrong.
I feel like this is how I get my dad into sumo wrestling is tell him, this happens on pickleball courts sometimes. And
Yes.
people in
And-
Mawashi have
yeah.
been known to play pickleball. So that's going to be my dad's gateway into sumo, I feel like.
And your father probably has younger knees than a particular new
Over half.
Yokozuna.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, and again on the atmosphere, one of the things that was most notable that if you ever go to a tournament like this, or if you ever go to a U.S. sumo event in general at all, everybody is just like hanging around. Like it was fully accessible. Everybody you wanted to talk to, you could just go up and like talk to them. It wasn't like there wasn't like a velvet rope keeping all of the plebeians away from the talent. It was a very laid back atmosphere, at least.
There was a chain link fence separating everything, but I mean, you had a couple gates.
but like it wasn't. You certainly, I would certainly never want to distract somebody who had a match coming up. But there was plenty of time between everybody's matches that they would be milling about, and that's how we got to know a whole bunch of the people that were out there. That was by far the highlight, was talking to the people and getting to know some more of our some more of our wrestlers that we have here stateside. But yeah, why don't we actually jump into our first interview here? This was probably the highlight of my life here, being approached in public by a stranger who knew who I was because I was famous to them. Right?
that was pretty awesome.
Oh God, yes. So first off, Austin, we're sorry to embarrass you here, but you are going first in the interview order here. But just like us, Austin was a fan, not a participant, but it was his first time seeing live American sumo. So why don't we cut into that real quick? We are here with Austin from Austin, as we knew him the entire time we were hanging out at Nationals. Austin, welcome to the show. We really appreciate it at Nationals. You actually approached us because you recognized our shirts and how famous we were, right?
Yeah, exactly. No worries. I mean, basically, you have celebrities here at the championships. Could not introduce myself.
Something like that. Yeah. No, Austin, you've been a long time listener of the show, but this was your first time seeing U.S. like amateur sumo in person, right?
Yeah, very first time. I mean, I live here in Texas, and I was like, I mean, it's literally, well, not literally my backyard, but pretty much in the backyard here, and could not go. And I didn't actually know y'all were going to be there. I had heard that Sumo Kaboom was going to come down and whatnot, and I was just excited to see what was going on. We have the Olympics coming up and whatnot, and just kind of wanted to see where where's the US at and whatnot, and kind of just come out and support the community, because it feels like sumo is growing. I don't have the numbers or anything like that, but I feel like US sumo is growing, and yeah, I want to come out and be a part of it and show my support.
Yeah,
Right
it was
on.
pretty cool. Again, we don't have numbers either, but I think I think you're onto something, because a lot of these competitors, I don't know if I'd say most, but a lot of these
Quite a few.
competitors, this was like one of their first tournaments, or they'd only been doing it for a couple months, and we need
Well-
people, new competitors and new fans to come out and show the support.
I'm glad we could
Absolutely.
have them come out to Texas and do it in 95-degree weather,
Yeah.
I will say that Texas weather is not Iowa weather, though.
Yeah.
Iowa, I think, gave it a run for its money, at least for the past few weeks. We've had triple digits.
Yep. No,
But no, that
we,
prepped us for Austin.
the wrestlers were not the only ones sweating, that's for sure. But yeah, as a watcher of Japanese pro sumo, what struck you as different about watching the amateur scene?
It's interesting, I've only seen Japanese professional sumo live once, and in the bleachers, literally.
That's where we all.
And yeah, and really interesting just to see sumo up close, from the front row. I'm definitely in the live feed, in the front row, and it's just way more intense. And just to see them staring each other down gives me a whole, I think, new appreciation even for what I'm watching on the professional side. That being said, it's interesting. I don't fully know all the rule differences between, say, U.S. sumo and Japanese sumo. I'm sure there are plenty. Like, I was curious, is the dohyo the same size? Obviously, it's not raised, which I'm a fan of. But although I did wonder if we were going to see anybody go into the crowds, because we were really close.
The splash zone.
But,
Yeah,
I think ultimately it was just what was really cool to me was just to see. Some of those guys have been doing it for a really long time already. Many years. Not sure if we're in the decades yet for a bunch of folks, but yeah, just it was more mature than I thought it was going to be. Obviously, I don't think we have people starting at 15 right now, although there was like that 16-year-old there.
There
We had
was
one
a
of 'em, yeah.
16-year-old.
But I don't think any of the longtime competitors had started at 15 or anything like that. But just kind of cool to see where it's at right now, and kind of makes me really excited for the future. One day maybe sumo will be an Olympic sport that's there every time, and I think that the U.S. could definitely, with what I saw, field a competitive team, someday in the future,
Yeah.
or even
Absolutely.
whenever they have it.
I mean, we sure thought so, but it was funny listening to some of the guys who had been doing it a long time that were like disappointed in their performance, right?
Yes.
And at the same time, we
Oh,
were like, "Whoa,
true
what?
competitors.
How?"
Like, what did you
Exactly.
think was bad? We thought you did great. No, I could have done better. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah, it was a really good time though, and yeah, so you approached us while we were at the event, and then we met up again later at Texas Sake, where a bunch of the wrestlers went out to hang afterwards. What'd you think about Texas Sake? Had you been there before?
I had their products before, but I had never actually made it out to Texas Sake. There were other venues in that area, so I'd always been, but had not made it to Texas Sake before. But that was pretty awesome. We definitely closed the place down.
That's true.
And I'm not sure. Things got a little fuzzy towards the end there. I don't know if we tried everything on the menu, but we got pretty darn close.
We did our best, yeah.
Yes.
We definitely did our best. But that was a ton of fun just to be in that atmosphere. I don't know how many groups or events there are like throughout the US, but I have to imagine like this grouping of individuals who are all into sumo just to like be there and to be into the sport and to support everybody there, like that. There can't have been many of those up to this date, and so just super cool to be around all these people. Like, typically when I go around talking about sumo to people, they're like, "Oh, there he goes again." Just let him talk. He'll finish eventually. And now, anytime I talk, people are like listening. They have, maybe they have counter arguments, or they can can have an actual discussion. So that was awesome to be able to like nerd out on like whatever's going on, like Sonic Alamo and what stuff, and actually be able to talk about that type of thing with somebody. That was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It's especially like taking 2020 off, basically from
yeah.
being in person with people. It was great time to be like in a bar that's completely sold out by people with the same hobby that you have, you know, or
Totally.
like
Absolutely.
same sport that you follow.
Oh, speaking of like seeing people in person, I will say one thing that seeing it live and in person gave me much more of an appreciation for was sort of the weights. Now I didn't know the weights of a lot of the U.S. wrestlers. I mean, maybe they were announcing them, but I was behind the speakers for a lot of it, so I didn't hear them. But you know, to get a sense like, oh, these guys are, you know, to hear guys be like, okay, you know, I'm over 400 pounds or something like that, to get a sense of what that actually looks like up and close, because you know, when you're watching Nato or somebody else or you know any of the feeds, it's like, okay, you can see that there's so many pounds, but like, what is your real sense of that? And then to see it live, you're like, oh, okay, wow, you know.
Yeah.
And then just to see them move with such speed and agility at the same time, just like, oh man, you know, my head would not stay attached to my body.
Yeah.
And especially some of
If
these
it were
guys
me.
coming off the Tachi, like, yeah, it's amazing how
yeah.
quickly they can get off.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head earlier when you said just being close to it, you know, with your own eyes from like less than 20 feet away, you know, that was a game
What
changer.
I think it's the same for all those people there who weren't even there for sumo. I mean, when we had the heavyweight division going on, all those spectators came out, and I mean, everybody was glued. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
Yeah.
right
size of
along
the
the
crowd
fence
like
line.
tripled in like you know a few minutes there. It feels like.
Yeah,
And
at the venue, we had like it was pickleball courts, right? Like we had
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
pickleball courts of this like amusement park type location booked. And there were people coming and going because the place was open. It was just a regular Saturday. There was just no pickleball, right? But all the people on their way in and out were like, what the hell is that?
What's going on here?
I guess we're watching this now. This is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it
right
was
up to
a
those heavyweight finals. I mean, we had a huge crowd, and that was awesome.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
I definitely think there were a lot of new fans made that day. Because I just think
yeah.
there is something
Hopefully.
different about seeing it in person or live, and yeah, I don't know. I've watched a lot of the online stuff, but yeah, seeing it in person is something different.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
this is something that at least I like to ask because everybody's got a different story. Everybody's got a different path in. What is yours? What
Okay.
got you into sumo wrestling?
Oh man, it feels kind of bad to say, but like, I was going to Japan, and I thought I would do it kind of on a lark. Like I found out randomly that I was going to be in Japan during when there was a sumo tournament, and I was debating on whether doing a trip to the north of Japan or south of Japan. And once I found out where the November tournament was, I was like, okay, well, the decision is made. We're going to go south and try to hit up the tournament. And you know, I feel like people kind of make fun of sumo like it's big men in diapers or something like that, and I've never really believed that, and I kind of hate that.
It's still
that
the cliche though.
Yeah, it is the cliche.
yeah, I hate that cliche, but you know, I was just like, you know, I kind of want to see this, and I went, and I didn't know what to expect. I just thought it would be entertaining, I guess, you know, like a sports event kind of thing, but I didn't really expect to like get connected, and then I was just like mesmerized, you know. I didn't even really know what I was watching, but to see the tradition around it, all the just sort of the, I mean, elegance per se, you know, like yes, it can be very violent, but just to see what was going on, and then I just remember on that particular day, it was Enho versus Aoyama, and I just like that guy's wrestling that guy, and then I'm like staring intently, like what's about to happen, and then Enho beats Aoyama.
Enho wins.
Yeah, and I was just like, no way, and then now I'm just like astounded, and
Like,
I
how do you
don't
do that?
exactly right. Like, there's no way. Like, I'm asking questions. There's nobody to answer my questions. Like, there's no weight classes. Like, what, you know, what is this? And I have to know more. And yeah, I think it just kept getting better and better as the bouts are progressing to the day. And then I was like, oh man, because I didn't go see a lot. I caught I think the end of Jurio that day, but I didn't see all the other matches. But I was like, man, I wish I spent the whole day there. So then the rest of the trip, I was thinking about it, and you know, I don't know if I would have stayed a fan. Like, I loved the experience, but yeah, I don't know how YouTube figured out that I wanted to watch sumo, but it came up in my recommendations somehow, and so I had enough YouTube sumo, you know, clout built up that when the tournament came around in January, I watched, and then I think what really just hooked me was oh gosh, why am I blanking on the name right now? The
There are a
Japanese
lot of matches.
M17 Yusho winner.
Tokushoryu.
Tokushoryu.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
Right
his
on.
rise from M17 and to that super emotional finish.
Oh,
You guys
that'd be
edit
the
that previous
perfect
part out,
tournament
but,
to start.
Mm.
Yeah.
oh my gosh. I mean, like, I don't know how you couldn't be a fan after that, but
Fat
just
man
like
tears.
the
They just win you
storyline
over.
and just to see him do his like twinkle toes thing at the Tawara like multiple times. I remember, I think when he beat Shodai, was one of like either the last match or the final match, and just like the emotion that he showed on his face and the humility that he showed, and just like, I mean, I don't know what. I try not to get too into like YouTube comments or anything, but like that guy killed it, in that tournament, and totally deserves it. And I was hooked at that point. I watched every tournament since. I try to consume all the sumo content that's created in English at this point. But yeah, I think a big thing for me about sumo is just the storylines. And yeah, there's a lot of ceremony and tradition, and people might see rigidity in it, but you can really get a sense of the within that framework. Each wrestler has their own personality and style, their style of sumo. And and I think once you put a little bit of time into it, it's yeah, it really hooks you. You get into it. So yeah, that's
Right
my
on.
story.
Awesome. Yeah, no, thanks for bringing that up, Mac. It's a silly cliche kind of question, but we get great answers every time.
Oh,
So
absolutely. That's why I
always have
love
to ask.
asking it.
well, yeah. Thanks so much for joining us, Austin, and keep
Austin from
approaching
Austin.
us in public, making us feel like celebrities. That's awesome.
Will do. Well, maybe the next one will be in Iowa.
Yeah, that's a long shot, but we can all dream. Awesome.
You'll have to get one of those pork tenderloins that you're talking about.
Oh yeah. No, that would
Absolutely.
absolutely be the concession of choice. Would be the Iowa pork tenderloin because we invented it right here. Damn it.
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you around, Austin.
Well, cool. Yeah, thanks, guys. Take it easy.
Yeah, go ahead when you're
So
ready.
not only did we actually, meet other fans there, but it was really cool to actually just see the sumo events itself. That started off with the lightweight division, which holy crap are those guys fast. I know we usually go for, in Makuuchi there's no weight divisions. It's just purely done on merit, technique, and ability. But seeing the lightweights clash, there is something to be said about extreme speed and flexibility. These guys brought it.
Yeah, I obviously wasn't at this event to watch it live, but I do know we watched U.S. sumo event or some amateur sumo event that featured the weight classes, and yeah, the lightweight guys really bring a different level of sumo than you typically see in like Japan, the pro grand sumo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, there's definitely plenty of skill at all weight classes, but because. Ugh, geez, I'm about to punch myself in the face with my microphone. Sorry, I got this new setup, and I'm still not.
I was about to
used
say,
to
this
it.
is not normal. What is this?
But anyways, yeah, it's when it's that much easier to lift up your opponent because you got guys that are like under 180 or so. When it's that much easier to lift up your opponents, it gets weird. And when you got guys that can jump higher relative to how big they are, or things like that, you get all sorts of weird squirrely type of matches where guys are like somehow balancing long beyond where we would have expected them to fall over given what we've seen of sumo.
But they also utilized a lot more of the trips, a little bit more of that leverage and really staying low and really getting after it. And also just the hype that they would bring to the ring. There was one guy in particular, and I think we're going to get to him a little bit later, that when he stepped into the ring, I mean, he was jacked. I mean, howled. I mean, just into it. It was like, oh my God, he could kill somebody out here.
Yep, that would be Tyler the Barbarian, as we've taken to calling him. But yeah, he's our next interview here. But yeah, that was another thing that we talked about with Tyler. We're so used to seeing like the dignified, calm, boring, for lack of a better word, attitude, out of
very
out of
stoic,
wrestlers.
very
yeah,
placid.
stoic if you want to be positive about it.
I'm trying to be.
But you get a whole lot more attitude, a whole lot more personality in amateur sumo, where it's a sport, just like any other sport. You're going to have guys that are very intense, guys that are more outwardly emotional, and that whether that's your thing or not, it's certainly interesting to see a complete departure from what we see in Grand Sumo. And Tyler was the epitome of approaching it like it's a combat sport. Take away like the ceremony aspect of it and approach it as if these are the rules. This is the sport. That's my competitor. And approach it like the MMA fighter or jiu-jitsu practitioner or boxer or whatever, and just go in there and fight. So that was a lot of fun. Other thing on the lightweight division in particular, there were a lot of people that were doing it for the very first time.
Mm-hmm.
Their very first tournament they ever entered was the national tournament for the year, and I think that was pretty cool. We talked to a handful of people. Alex, in particular, was our very first GSB T-shirt sighting in the
Yes.
wild.
Oh my gosh.
Remember
I
that?
know having Austin, come up and approach us was one thing, but when we got to our seats, look across the room and saw Alex wearing a GSB T-shirt, that was when I fangirled like crazy.
Yes.
Did you fangirl over yourself?
Yeah.
Would you not?
I mean, I do every day when I look in the mirror, but
Yes.
Ah.
I expect better from the rest of us.
Well, there's your problem.
Yes, there is your problem.
So you said a lot of these guys were competing for the very first time. Why weren't you guys tempted to don the tighty whities, as I'm sure you lack the proper mawashi, and jump in the ring and compete on the national level?
Ryan, I always wear a mawashi under my pants at literally all times.
Then you have no
But-
excuse, my friend.
But I didn't fly into Austin until Friday night, so it was too late for me to sign up. I tried, damn it, but no, it
And-
didn't.
And
And you would
there's
have been all jet lagged because there's no time difference between
Yeah.
Iowa and Texas.
It's a long flight, a whole
Yeah.
like 2 hours or whatever.
I
get
may or
it.
may not have been hungover from all the Texas sake when I was going to get Jake, so let's put a pin in that one.
Did you just admit to drunk driving?
No, hungover is not
hungover
drunk.
driving.
All right. I don't drink. I don't know how this works. I'm sorry.
Oh, fair enough. But let's get to that interview with Tyler, who was also a first-time competitor and definitely made an impression on us.
And next up on the show, we have Tyler Vanneau, also from the Florida Sumo Club. Welcome to the show, Tyler.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Tyler, we saw you wrestle this last weekend here at Nationals. It was a great time. I remember in particular you stuck out because when we watch pro sumo, you see like the poise, the dignity,
Yeah.
and then Tyler is like, no, none of that.
None
you
of
come in,
that.
you come in as intense as like a pro wrestler. That was fun to see.
Yeah. I thought it was really interesting that not more people were going to come in with that mentality. I mean, I've been doing like grappling, like sports and stuff like that for a little bit now, but I was really expecting, it to be a little bit more of that high intensity, and it didn't seem to be that way at all. Actually, most of the people I competed against afterwards were like, man, you're so intense. And it's like, yeah, I came prepared to die today. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's especially in the professional side of sumo, it's very much the other way around there. But like, it's the amateur side of things. It's that most people turn on the 100% intensity at the beginning, and then they're smiling again and friends before they hit the ground.
Usually.
What did you think of like the community there, like getting along with the people and getting to meet other people from around the country?
Yeah, that was the big thing that stuck out to me. The amateur American sumo community is off the charts. It's I do a lot of really interesting stuff. I'm a part of a lot of communities, and this is probably one of the coolest, most humble communities I've ever been a part of. Like you said, you get in this high intensity match, and whether you win or lose after the match, you guys are off on the side afterwards talking about, oh, if you would have done this, then maybe you would have won. Or if I would have done this, like giving each other pointers, and just like everybody was super nice. Like I wasn't expecting that at all. Like it was definitely not the thought process I had going into the tournament.
Yeah. You mentioned you're a part of a lot of communities. You're certainly you strike me as a guy who doesn't like to try new things. Am I right there?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I definitely do a lot of different stuff. So sumo is the new bag of tricks I've decided to stick in there. Yeah.
And what
know you do,
pulled you in? What pulled you in to say, okay, I need to add sumo to my repertoire?
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing jujitsu since like the beginning of 2019. I was at a different gym here in Orlando, Florida, and then due to COVID, that gym closed down. and then kind of like didn't have anything going on during COVID. And then I happened to just stumble across Coringa's gym, and just like really cool style of jiu-jitsu, really wrestling heavy. And I didn't wrestle in high school. I have no wrestling background whatsoever. So I don't consider myself a very good wrestler. So it was a big part of why I like going to this gym is, learning how to wrestle. I think that's where a lot of jiu-jitsu gyms get it wrong. They don't do the offensive side of like stand-up wrestling and counter wrestling and stuff like that. And then I remember being a kid and watching like Three Ninjas, and there's like a scene in that movie with like,
man.
yeah,
I
there's
remember that movie.
yeah, man. There's a scene in that movie with like sumo wrestlers, and I was a fat kid, like I was a chunky kid, and I played sports like primarily baseball and stuff like that all the way up into high school. And I just remember being a little kid and being like the fat kid that people would like kind of pick on and being like, man, like look at those fat guys doing this like super cool sport. Like I think that would be really cool. And then one day, Coringa just puts out this flyer for a sumo seminar taught by Cornelius Booker at our gym. And I was like, what? I'm all aboard. And unfortunately, I actually didn't get to go to that seminar because I had COVID. Yeah, really, thought I missed it. I thought I was it. That was done. And then coach was like, sumo practice every day, every Sunday at 2 p.m. And then I just showed up to the first one, like just really interested in it. Smallest guy in the gym. And it just, I love it. It's probably the most fun combat sport I've ever done, for sure.
Very cool. Tell us about some of the other guys in your gym. You guys brought a pretty decent club to nationals this year.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, in Iron Life Athletics, it's the only guys in the gym is me and Coringa. So Mark Jones, our heavyweight, he's from Daytona, and he came for the seminar. And then when we started doing sumo practices, he started coming to the gym. So like he's an Iron Lifer now, but he lives, an hour-ish away from us. So he's not in like jiu-jitsu or wrestling or kickboxing classes all week. And then it's been kind of difficult to try to get more guys in the gym, to put on a mawashi and come to class. So it's really just, it's me and Coringa, and then Mark comes down every Sunday, and then Cornelius and Jordan will come down when they can. It's pretty much it. So
very cool. Jordan, the 16-year-old who seemed to take the world by storm for a
16-year-old bronze medalist. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The kid is definitely an enigma. Like he's super talented.
Yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, you guys seemed like a pretty fun club. It was at nationals there was kind of a smattering of people from all over the country, a few people here and there, lots of people who train on their own. But not every club showed up in matching t-shirts. It's kind of set you guys apart a little bit.
Yeah, all that goes to Cornelius. Cornelius was all on the t-shirt game, all on the sweater game, like
nice.
Yeah. He was definitely in on that. But I will say the really cool thing about our club is we have a really cool like team morale. Like, like a lot of team building, like we're in a group chat, we're messaging each other every day, we really support and uplift each other, and not just sumo, but everything that we do. So that's a really cool part of what's going on.
That's awesome.
Very cool. Yeah. So, what are some of the other things that you get into? Just because I mean, I was taking notes and stuff while we were talking to everybody around there Saturday, and I think you took up a lot more of the page than most.
Which was that was all fascinating though.
I was just giving you crap. You more than almost anybody that I've met recently are like all about all sorts of different things. What are some of your other favorite hobbies here?
Yeah, so I do a lot. So my main profession actually is I'm an actor. So I'm a professional actor here in the southeastern region of the United States. I have an agent that represents me and is submitting me to film and television all the time. I actually had a big audition today that I had to put on tape before sumo practice for a new TV show that's going to be coming out on a major streaming service. Can't really talk about it, but yeah, so that's like like my profession. Like that's my career. And then I also am a long form improviser. I've studied improv for like upwards of 1.5 to 2 years at a long form improv studio. I'm a open mic stand-up comedian here in Orlando, Florida. That's something I really like to do. I do it not as often as I would like, but I do so much, it's hard to kind of find this balance. I'm also a house DJ. I play house music here in downtown. I play house music here in downtown Orlando, a lot of like Chicago and New York style house music, a lot of older like late 80s, early 90s stuff. And then, yeah, I'm a jujitsu guy. I've been doing jujitsu, like I said, for since 2019, on and off here and there. And been really going hard since I've been in Coringa's gym. I just got my 4th stripe on my white belt, like right before nationals, and I'm pretty close to getting my blue belt here soon. And then, yeah, now I'm a sumo wrestler. And then I pay my bills bartending and waiting tables. That's pretty much how it goes. Yeah.
So yeah, you probably spend a lot less time sitting around than I do. Very cool.
It's a wild lifestyle, man. I will say. I mean, I enjoy sitting when I can, but I try to explain to people that off days from work are not true off days. I'm doing a lot. So
there you go. Yeah, got to improve yourself one way or the other, right?
Sure.
Very cool. Well, yeah. What? So I'm just kind of curious. Do you follow Japanese pro sumo at all, or is this mainly just something you guys do in the gym?
Honestly, I wasn't following anything like at all. So I went to practice. I met Cornelius, and I knew from what coach had told me that he was a esteemed amateur sumo wrestler here in the U.S. And so I did my own research, and yeah, this dude's super legit. And then in one practice with him, I realized really quickly like not only how knowledgeable he was in sumo, but how passionate he was about it. And I'm one of those people that, I mean, you see by all the things I do, when I find something I really like, I go really hard
into it. Right on.
You whole ass everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So me and Cornelius, like we mend well together. Like I really like appreciate his thought process and outlook on sumo wrestling. So I really wasn't watching it much at all before. But then we started going to practice. I went to the first practice. They started talking about nationals, and I was like, oh, okay, like that sounds cool. Like, when is it? And they're like, oh, it's in a month. So I was like, I was like, I'm not gonna.
Oh, that's not a real fast. They're like, oh, just a month. Like,
yeah,
what?
it's a month. It's next month. They're like, it's next month. I think it was like a month and 2 weeks from.
We all already have our tickets. Just come on. Get on
so I was like, oh, okay, like that's not feasible. And then like talking to Coringa, he's like, oh, like we wrestle, don't we? And I was like, well, yeah. He's like, okay, so let's go. And I was like, all right, that's all right, cool, I'm in. So that's when I started kind of like watching like highlight videos and stuff on YouTube, and like I started watching Cornelius's matches, and then I started watching some other guys' matches, and just like that's when I started kind of heavily getting more involved in watching it. But I wouldn't say I like follow professional sumo like the schedule of it. Like I couldn't tell you when stuff airs or anything like that. But yeah.
That's so interesting because we're like completely the other way around.
Yes.
We're like, oh, we didn't even know there was a US amateur scene at all.
Yeah. I didn't know there was a difference. Like I had no idea there was pro and amateur. Like Cornelius had to like fully explain all that to me. I had no idea that there was two different things. So yeah, this has been all really cool for me.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. And yeah, just I was reviewing the brackets, I'm sure it helps to have such high level training partners and stuff, but in a month and a half or whatever, you got like 5 or 6 wins on Saturday.
Yeah, you racked up an impressive amount, man.
Yeah, I lost my first match to the guy that actually ended up winning gold in my weight class.
Joe.
Yeah, Joe, who was, very strong competitor, really, really good. He beat me 100% fair and square, but I stepped out in that match. So I was really upset afterwards. I was like really mad at myself. I was like, man, you came all the way to Austin. You're going to make a dumb mistake and step out of the ring and not even like get bested in that sense. So like, yeah, I just like getting into the loser's bracket, and I was like, no holds bars. And then I had that first match, had that big takedown, and I kind of just rode that steam all the way to the semifinals. So
yeah, no, it was a great trip. And yeah, like I said, that intensity you certainly stuck out, and it was in a good way. It was a lot of fun seeing a lot more personality than we're used to watching the pro scene.
Yeah, I think I credit that a lot to my training partners like that are MMA fighters. I'm going into the gym and I'm training with these guys that are, they have fights coming up. I want to help them get ready, and it's like it's dangerous. You going in and you're getting punched in the face, or jujitsu, all these things. There are downsides. You can get really hurt, and so sumo, there's downsides. You can get really hurt if you go in and don't know what you're doing. So my thought process, being a guy that had no competition in any combat sport before at all, just strictly training in the gym, was like, okay, I got to go in and like really try to like get after it, because if I don't, the other guy's going to come at me even harder and I could really get hurt here. So I didn't want that to happen. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, no, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and I'm sure we'll have you on here again. But yeah, where can people find you if they're looking for you? If they if you know, if we got listeners in Orlando in need of a DJ / bartender / actor / sumo wrestler.
Yes.
Yeah, I have everything on one. It's probably not what you're supposed to do. I don't know, but social media is too much for me. So I have one social media.
I get that.
handle.
Yep, we understand.
Yeah. So on Instagram, you can find me at my name. So it's at Tyler Vanneau. Last name is Veinot. Yeah, I'm on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter. I don't really use it. Usually if I'm tweeting, I'm watching UFC and I'm tweeting about fights. So, but yeah, I'm on there posting about film and all the other stuff. So yeah.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, thanks for repping Florida Sumo Club, and we'll have you on again soon. Thanks, Tyler.
We'll be back for sure. So thanks, guys. I appreciate it. It's great talking to you.
Wow, what an asshole.
What? Yes, but an interesting fellow.
Wow, Ryan sucks.
We actually enjoyed Tyler. Thank
No,
you.
no.
Full disclosure. I haven't heard the interview yet. I assume he's a wonderful fella.
Ryan was just like, I want to bring us back from this one. I have an
Yeah.
idea.
I got it.
Don't take that one personally, Tyler.
I'm sure
No.
you're a fantastic fella.
Whenever Ryan gets to listening to that interview, he will.
Which I will, because I'm the only person that listens to our podcast.
You and my wife will both enjoy that
Yeah.
interview that they have now already listened to in the timeline that we're.
Yes.
Anyways, so, but no, shut up, Ryan. Tyler, please
Don't hate us.
disregard him. You know that he is a distant fourth as far as GSP hosts go. So yeah, lightweight in particular, we wanted to talk about just because it is so different than, you know, like the if you're just primarily a Grand Sumo fan, what you're gonna see during a normal basho. But there was a middleweight, there's a new light heavyweight division, and then there's heavyweight. And then at the end of it is the main event where everybody who wants to can just join in the open weight. In that you get guys from all sizes, all weight classes going together. I think we had guys going up, like, let's see, I think our lightweight champion went up against Caleb. Was that right? Yeah, so that's like a factor of 3 weight difference almost. But yeah, so you know, if it was pure open weight the way, you know, professional Grand Sumo is, you know, then obviously it tends to favor the bigger guys. But when you have an open weight tournament with guys from all weight classes, you get all sorts of weird, crazy, exciting matchups. And yeah, generally, all other things being equal, yeah, bigger guys tend to come out on top more often. But because you have such a wide range of, you know, experience, wide range of size and technique and all sorts of stuff that hasn't been honed by centuries of tradition, it's more unpredictable, and that is a blast.
But as a departure from that tradition, we also have the introduction of the ladies going at it in this tournament. And that was really fun to see, particularly Yalady Galindo. Hopefully I'm saying your name correctly if you're watching this. You were fantastic right up until your injury, but still you fought through that. Glad you sat out on that, didn't injure that. But also
didn't push it further. That
yes,
no, it was
yes.
it was
Smart.
tough. We saw and there was one other injury. I think it was Marky who fell over on his shoulder, and that hurt pretty bad. But all in all, it was I think there were only those 2 injuries that required anybody to pull out or anything like that.
Jake Book also had his elbow, I think, at one point.
Okay. I mean, this is all relative to the baseline of everything always hurts when you do sumo,
Yes.
but like, you know, like injuries. So it was all in all a pretty safe event. But yeah, Mac, the other obvious name we got to bring up for women's wrestling. You wanna bring up Eros?
The queen of the ring, Eros Armstrong. Eros, oh my God, get out of her way, Armstrong.
That's the one. Yes.
Yep, the one that absolutely terrified me every time she would go up to do her individual doyo iri and completely make me crap my pants. Yes,
Yeah.
that's the Eros.
No, Eros is awesome. She's fairly new on the scene. But she's a tank, and she ripped through pretty much everybody that she had to go up against, and is definitely a name to watch going forwards in U.S. Sumo, women's sumo in particular, obviously. But yeah, the women's division was a lot of fun. There was a particular name missing. That would be Mariah Holmes, one of the biggest names in U.S. Sumo. Let's see, why wasn't she there? I can't remember.
Maternity leave, I believe.
Oh, that's right. Yes. So, well, congratulations on that if you are listening.
Yes.
But yeah, Eros versus Mariah is kind of like the matchup on the horizon that we're kind of looking forward to. So that hopefully that can happen the next tournament that we have.
Or Helen Del Popolo. She was there reffing, but she said she wanted to compete in there as well. So I would love to see those three square off.
Yeah, Helen was out for injury, I believe. So she was
Yes.
still there because she. I mean, I can totally understand still needing to be around the sumo as much as you can be, but yeah, just wasn't in the cards this time to compete. Some other really notable performances. We had Jordan, 16-year-old heavyweight, won a couple matches.
Holy crap!
And like, absolutely massive teenager. I if I remember right, we didn't even really like notice that one of them was like a kid.
We just thought, oh, that's an adult man until we started talking to some of his stablemates. Yeah, he's only 16. My jaw hit the mat. I'm like, excuse me?
You get
that
a little
kid
closer.
Is 16?
Yeah, you get a little closer and you're like, what the hell? So hopefully very bright future from another Florida sumo wrestler. Florida Sumo was one of the big clubs that we saw there. That's where Tyler was from. That's where Jordan's from. Cornelius Booker is another name you would probably have heard of in the U.S. sumo scene from there. But the probably the most successful guy from that club for at least this tournament was Coringa, one of the wildest, most interesting people that I think we have ever met. So
if you are not into sumo, I highly advise you to watch the upcoming interview with Coringa, and it will make you fall in love with the sport.
Yeah, no, very, very cool guy. Why don't we listen to him? Coringa was the middleweight champion in the first actual competition that he had entered, which tells you a lot. Pretty interesting guy here. And we are back here with the current U.S. middleweight champion, Aaron Coringa Conway. Coringa, not a lot of people have a fight name. So I guess, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit by how come you get a cool nickname and none of us have one yet?
I want one.
So about 18 years ago, when I was actually 17, 18, I met this Brazilian family just walking in and out of places. And I could tell they were wearing a full capoeira uniform, mostly because I play a lot of video games, play a lot of Tekken. So I knew who Eddie Gordo was, and the cheap character on Tekken, as a lot of people know him as. But I'm like, oh my God, that's capoeira. And he turned around. The guy at the time turned around. He looked kind of mad, but I don't know. So he came over to me. And he was like, kind of I knew what it was, and I pronounced it right somehow. And I was like, hey, I'm super interested. Could you guys do that around here? Can you tell me where it's at? He said the street. He's like, bring $100. Probably thinking you'd never see me again. Yeah. Probably thinking never see me again. And I came the next day after work, and I never stopped training capoeira. 2 years after starting capoeira, I started jiu-jitsu, and then that led into me being a personal trainer / amateur fighter, grappler. Fast forward through time, I started fighting amateur, then I started fighting professionally, and it's going on and on. And it all stemmed from capoeira. Capoeira, after about a year or so, depending on the group, like they'll nickname you. Usually it's something that they find funny about you, or just a way for them to remember you if they need to. And it's an old tradition they did when capoeira was illegal in Brazil. So
illegal?
It was illegal. Yeah, they made it illegal in Brazil. You're not allowed to learn. You're not allowed to learn it, train it, teach it, do it in the streets. So they did this whole nickname thing. So when the cops would come up, they even have a music like beat they play when they do capoeira to let you know, like 5-0 in their sense. It's called Calavera. And the sound is like, horse hooves on cobblestone. And that's when it was basically like, bust yourself and like take off running. So
Scramble.
Yeah, scramble. So then the cops would come up and be like, who was here? And they'd say in Portuguese, horse, turtle, pineapple head, whatever. So they started this whole nickname thing. So nobody knew anybody's names, and that fell into like doing 18 years of capoeira. The name just stuck. In fact, people at the gym call me Coringa or Coach. Just what I go by. People, I run a Highland Games foundation. I took over. Even those folks call me Coringa. It's really strange. Coringa actually means Joker because I'm like a.
Oh, that's bad ass. Sorry,
And
Joker fan.
I never would have guessed it based on meeting you and watching you wrestle and celebrate and stuff. Yeah.
So Coringa, I would mess with people, and back then it wasn't called trolling, but I was trolling people, messing with people, joking with people. I would do impressions of like some of the other teachers and stuff, and have a really good Brazilian accent, I guess, when I'm making fun of them. But so, anyways, they came up with Coringa, and apparently they thought my smile was really, really strange all the time because I was angry. So Coringa stuck. When I started fighting, that's how I knew people would know me as that. Hey, that's Coringa who did capoeira. So that's where Coringa came from.
Yeah. Well, shit. I think you kind of went through all of my questions, so I'm out of stuff. No, it was great seeing you in Austin last weekend here, where you entered middleweight. This was your first official competition. How long have you actually been doing sumo actively?
Actively, I'd say like 3 months. Like I'd say traditionally with a Mawashi, and that's only before we used it as drill practice for wrestling. But I had no idea the level of technique that went into it. I'm not saying I didn't think it was light technique. There's a lot of Mawashi grabbing. I mean, there's a lot of things that transfer over from wrestling, but to say traditionally training, like Mawashi on, going through the motions, certain Danyo, everything, I'd say 3 months, give or take.
Gotcha.
Yes.
So how did you get into that? So you've got capoeira, you've got strongman, you've got Highland Games. What drew you to sumo?
That actually is a very easy question, or very easy question to answer. After I stopped fighting professionally for MMA, I started doing more jiu-jitsu, more pro jiu-jitsu. I'm a black belt, and going to these shows like Fight Twin and the ones that are on Flow Grappling or whatever. But I would get paid to just grapple, and I really didn't have to cut that much weight, and it was a lot of fun. I still get all the accolades from sponsors and stuff. So after a couple of years of doing that, running the gym, nobody wrestled anymore. Everybody would sit down and try to play with feet, and everybody wanted to be an ankle locker. And it wasn't me. Like I learned wrestling when I was a pro fighter because I was fighting wrestlers, and that's the situation. You get taken down, you get punched, you get elbowed, or vice versa. You get back up, you scramble, and you move. So when it was heartbreaking to be like, I'm in Orlando, and there must be 10 gyms within like 5, 6, 7 square miles fighting for the same 60, 70 students. And I'd say 2 out of those gyms are the only gyms that wrestle at all, like teach wrestling, a double leg, a single leg, anything. So when I noticed like, oh my God, like all these competitions I'm doing or wanting to do or doing, nobody's wrestling. They're sitting down. It's kind of null and void. All this lifting I did for, wrestling and fighting, the strongman stuff, picking huge stones up and carrying them and doing stuff. That's, unless I'm doing strongman, it doesn't really apply over to like my jiu-jitsu anymore. So I kind of like sumo anyways. We did it for some drilling, or what I thought was sumo. And I found the one and only guy that did it here in Florida. And I paid for him to come down here, got him a hotel for a few days, bought a seminar, paid him for a seminar, had him go over a lot of the stuff with us. Which is really great. His name's Cornelius Booker. I would call him Cornbread.
Oh, okay. You got a good one there.
Exactly. So it was kind of awkward at first because he didn't know if I was, just messing with him, or he thought I was just gonna do one and done kind of thing. I'm like, no, man, I'm serious. I'm gonna pay for all this. Just come on down. Let's help me out. Like, I'll buy him wash. Let's do this. So when it came out, I absolutely loved it. It was pure for me. It was, there's the run and the bash and the Mawashi grabbing and the whatever, but there was no like other stuff to it. There was no I don't know, some of the negative stuff I was feeling from fighting. Like I didn't feel like wearing a hood and wearing earphones and being that guy in the corner like, oh, I'm get out there and for me, that was what kids are for now. They can do that. They can listen to that, do whatever. I want something pure. I can run. I can wrestle. You know, there's no random bad rules like, you know, if you do this, you do that. It's literally you force this person out of the ring, or Vanneau, you force this person's knee to touch, you take them down. That's it. You know, there you go. And to me, that was like the purest form of wrestling. So to me, what was been taken away from me was given back in a better form.
Very cool. So yeah, it's
awesome.
Sumo is basically entirely the parts that you like about the combat sports you've done before, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. So one thing you mentioned there, you said what you were doing, like what you thought was sumo, like as drilling and stuff like that. Now that you're you know, full time into the actual sport itself as its own sport, what are you noticing that's different from like the other combat sports that you've done?
One, that it's well more direct. There's things that I like about it. There's things that I think could be improved about it, which I'm trying to do with Cornelius and the guys here at Florida Sumo. The purity of it to me is there's nothing that can mess with that. Like it's this basic. There's, you know, not really any politics, so to speak, but there's no you know, ways to skirt around the rules. I mean, like that's what I felt like, people pulling guard or doing things like that, playing the point system. There's no like, well, you know, if the moon's this way and this person's judging, then you got to make sure you don't like touch 3 fingers instead of 4. So for me, that was hard. I was done with that. So with sumo, it was just, you know, straightforward. Learning the techniques and the, you know, the traditional side of it just made it better for me. So that's why I truly love it. The things I want to, you know, kind of do with it is, like I did for some of the other stuff I trained, Highland Games and other things. I want to improve it. I want to make strength training programs for it. I had a really great time meeting everybody at nationals. I wanted to ask them how they train, like who they train with, or do they have a specific gym they go to that is just sumo, or are they just kind of using some area out of like another person's area, you know? So to me, I try to pick apart and, you know, I don't know, re-engineer how I can make it not different, but just improve on it. Making, you know, how can I get more girls to train sumo? How do I, you know, not take away from the stigma that it's all these just big guys that sit around and, you know, eat a bunch of gumbo or, you know, what rice and stuff. Like I want to get away from a lot, and I'm seeing it's kind of difficult to some degree, but, you know, that's what it is for me. I want to make it better. I don't want to take over anything. I just want to, like, you know, we have guys coming in now that will train sumo. We'll also train strength training for them and set up sleds a certain way with weights and pallets that we can, you know, hit our, forgive me with the wording, I'm still having issues between that and D Space 9. The Russian bass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've got tons of these barrels that we use. We wrap a mawashi around. We pick up and carrying the mawashi. It's kind of like I don't know, like a heavy front carry. Like there's just ways we break down. Like, all right, this worked for me. This didn't work for you. But you know, I'm tall, you're short. How can we break this down? So for me, it's just a whole nother. It's not to make it sound cliche, but it's a whole nother kung fu for me, just to figure out. And it's all the things I like about it too. It's getting stronger, getting faster, getting, you know, powerful, and like wrestling. It's straight wrestling, what it should be.
I can definitely tell you are passionate about all this. This is so refreshing and so amazing. I am eating this up.
So regarding nationals, though, I just wanted to cover real briefly like your journey through this tournament here, because you had a hell of a run, especially for like a first time competitor here. There's some more experienced guys around that you know, they'd been doing sumo longer than you had, but obviously you certainly have a head start compared to somebody starting this as their first sport.
Right.
But I was looking through the brackets to refresh my memory. I didn't realize that Jimmy, the guy that you beat in your middleweight final, you faced him 4 times on Saturday, didn't you?
4 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy was really nice. I really liked him. I saw him at some of the weigh-ins, not at weighing in or anything, but I saw him like off to the side. I'm like, that guy's probably my weight class. I recognize guys just being at weigh-ins from multiple other sports, you know? So I had him in the very first round, and I beat him. He made his way back, all the way back up from the losers bracket, all the way back into the finals, where he had to beat me twice in the finals. And to me, that, all right, that's not a big deal for me in a way. I didn't take it easy or anything, or how do I say that? I don't take anybody easily. I just like knew I had a really good situation there.
The stakes were higher for him than for you in that match,
yes.
right? That first
one.
one.
Correct. He didn't surprise me anything on the first one. You know, training with Cornelius now is a light heavy. Jordan, who's with Florida Sumo, that kid who's fortunately now moving down here to Orlando to played football at UCF and trained sumo with me here at Iron Life.
Right on.
He's a huge kid. Train with him. I have another guy that I like training with, Dimitar Shantinov. He's a pro strongman. He holds a world record in circus dumbbell. He is a very, very wide, strong man, and I've had really the pleasure of training with him and all these big guys. So when I was going with that guy, I didn't, it wasn't no opposition I wasn't used to. However, on that first round of the two of us, on that where he had to beat me twice, he came out screaming like he was literally verbal, like raw, like something out of a Star Wars. I'm a big Star Wars fan. Screw me, I might bring up a lot.
Right
of
on. Sorry, Star Wars fan too. Love it.
You're in good company. Don't feel bad about that.
I'm a huge fan. So he came out and he literally with that Spielberg scream like,
oh.
and like working down. I'm like, okay, now you want to be serious. Now I'm serious. And that's when I beat him again in the finals. But he was a tough guy, man. He was probably one of the tougher guys. He was trying to figure me out a little bit. He knew I, lifted. He was a power lifter. I talked to him about his some of his lifts and how I don't like powerlifting. But in so many words. But I think that's where he started coming back a little bit. But there was no way at that point. Once I could, how do I say this right? In verbally coming up to this competition, I was saying I'm going to have fun. Like you hear a lot of people say, I'm doing this to have fun. Whatever happens, happens. In the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm still a competitor. I still want to compete. And then when I started winning and things started moving throughout the day, I'm like, you know what? This is gold. I'm gonna merc. I'm gonna go through this. So after he kind of pushed me out on that 1 out of 2 that he needed, that shut me off. I'm like, now it's game time. This is moving. Now you got to go out.
Now we're serious.
Now we're serious. Anything that touches me, I'm going up. There's no more playing around. I'm not going to try to play with some random grip I learned a week ago, and I'm going to do everything I know. I'm going to hit you as hard as I can, and I'm going to pummel, which a lot of these guys don't do. And if there's anything I have to say about where the only thing that really I had up on a lot of these guys were if they weren't wrestlers, they weren't pummeling. If you're not pummeling, you're not moving.
And pummeling, just in layman's terms, that's readjusting the grip, like, trying to get your arm on the inside and stuff like that. Maki Kai, I believe, is the Japanese term for that kind of grip. You might hear that in pro sumo. But yeah, so like that was something, it was really fun watching some of you guys that have had experience in other sports doing sumo. It was clear seeing some guys like that wanted to move their feet fast, are clearly guys from football. Or, guys doing the pummeling and stuff. That's jujitsu, that's wrestling. Very cool, very diverse background. So because everybody's coming from a different spot in sumo, what kind of connections did you make? What kind of stuff did you pick up just being in that atmosphere at nationals, meeting new people?
Well, I picked up, there's a lot of different angles from different folks. I learned that I have a weird stance for my initial jump. That my heels are off the floor. I'm kind of more of a serious angle when I see a lot of these guys are flat-footed, with their fists kind of forward. The way I was kind of learning and training it, I had my heels off the ground, almost like shooting off the balls of my feet. I learned that that kind of telegraphs that you're going to try to E-Honda headbutt fly into people. So I think I might start working on a little bit more of a, I want to say mobile, more of a directional type the initial jump.
The tachi-ai.
Tachi-ai, sorry.
There you go.
All these words. Tachi-ai. I might change up my tachi-ai a little bit to make myself a little bit more maneuverable, and maybe I need to focus, add in some more Mawashi type techniques that would probably help me in my game in the long run, especially the higher I go, other places I'm going to go. I actually want to move up the light heavyweight actually in December for that one.
Ooh, that's going to be big.
Yeah, December. I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to make sure to ask if we were going to see you in Vegas, because me and Mac are going to, at least the two of us, not sure about the other two guys on the show, but we're going to try and be there in Vegas as well. So
absolutely
good to know. We'll see you there.
Definitely go to Vegas.
I had one other question before we kind of wrapped up here. We were trying to pick out all your tattoos while we were watching you wrestle. You got a wide range of nerdy stuff printed on you. Tell me about some of your favorite ones, just for the hell of it.
I have a whole horror movie leg that kind of feeds over to my Jason Voorhees on my arm and Zombie Bite on my neck. So I'm really into horror movies. And then comic books. I have Bane with the broken Batman mask. Silver Surfer, Venom. Some of my favorites though are the hand poke that I got on my shoulders, which is like 1 or 2 or no machine. There's an awesome lady that does it here at Rooted Tattoo, and it one's of the Death Star 1 actually, the plans.
I thought that's what that was on your shoulder. I was like, oh my God, I think that's an original Death Star plan.
Yeah, you solved the mystery there. Thank you.
It is. I was obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with the Death Star. My whole gym, there's Star Wars stuff everywhere.
And you've got a TIE Defender on one of your pecs. I saw that was Darth Vader's TIE Defender.
Very right. Exactly. And I'm getting one more in right after the Europa shows I'm doing this weekend. I'm covering up I have a 4-leaf clover. When I was younger, I thought my grandparents told me I was Irish, but I did the whole ancestry DNA thing. I'm not as Irish as I thought I was. So I'm actually gonna get it covered up with the original ship symbol.
Yes.
Exactly. I'm gonna cover that, make that look pretty awesome. So
the original Sith Empire symbol.
Correct.
Right on. Sorry.
You hit Max. You hit all of Mac's interests right here on the head here with sumo and Star Wars.
I'm a super fan of Star Wars. I love everything about it. I also love a bunch of stuff about Norse. I need my kids like Thor's weapons. My daughter's name is Mjolnir. My son's name is Yarnbjorn. I don't know. It's weird. I'm just big into like.
Come on, no Brock, no Sindri, no Sleipnir. Come on, you got to have more kids here, man.
He's got to have more kids. That's it.
My truck's name is Sleipnir, actually. On the the
nice.
Yeah. The 8-legged horse with the roots for teeth. I know all about it, brother.
Awesome.
Well, I got one more for you. You're awesome.
Go ahead,
I've been loving this interaction. Loved watching you wrestle. How can people get themselves involved? You kept mentioning your club. Tell us a little bit more about that and how people can reach out and get involved with you.
People can find me on social media, me or Cornelius Booker. He's in Panama City Beach. I'm here in Orlando, Florida, downtown. All they got to do is contact us. I'm currently at Iron Life. We don't charge anything for people to come train sumo with us. So it's a free day. They don't even have to pay a day pass. Sign a waiver though. So they can contact me or even Cornelius on social media, or find me at www.ironlifeathletics.com. You can find my email there, or Instagram on Coringa at Iron Life. And just basically that's it. And I'll talk to anybody. And then I like to bring everybody in for literally everything. So
excellent.
Awesome.
Well, we hope to see more of you here. Good luck in Vegas, and we'll hope to see you there.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
I want to see pics of that new tattoo.
You will. I can't wait. I'm really excited.
So the rest of the day we had all those weight divisions. Each was doing a double elimination bracket to crown their champions. We had our open weight stuff, but it wasn't just sumo. We had all sorts of other stuff going on. We had there were some Japanese cultural demonstrations by a local group that did taiko drumming. They did an archery demonstration. I think they did kendo. Yeah. So it was cool stuff. And that's I'm sure that was all Justin's doing, putting together the day's events and stuff like that. Just made sure that there's always something going on. So even if Mac and I weren't hurriedly running around trying to be social, much more social than we are naturally, of course.
Obviously, we're back in our normal recording session.
I'm back in my safe place. Yes. This is but yeah, so there was plenty going on, and it was it was just a great day all around.
Adding on to that,
Mhm.
It was a sold out event, all VIP tickets sold, all general admission sold, and still there was enough interest garnered that you had people hanging around just the outside of the pickleball courts, just watching the events. I mean, several people deep, just crowding around the gates, watching the events of the national tournament. It's like, this is great. I mean, just that overall atmosphere and that overall feeling, it was wonderful.
Not everybody is going to travel across the country to go see sumo or to go participate in sumo, but most people would probably stop after their round of mini golf to at least see what the heck was going on.
Particularly since the bar was also behind us.
That was another key. That was excellent.
That's the key to getting big crowds, is just set up your event right in the way of getting into the bar so that they have to congregate and see what's going on.
Hey,
you know what
not?
we should do? We should get in talks with the hosts of the next tournaments and make it so that you have to win a guest sumo match to get to the bar.
There you go. At least compete.
At least compete. Yeah. There you go.
That was another one of the fun events that they did was they said, test your might in the ring. So you actually got to square off. They had a spare Mawashi that they brought out, and then they brought a couple of the Sumotori into the ring, and they said, okay, do you want to square off against these guys?
Yep. Darius threw somebody into orbit. That was pretty fun.
How'd you guys do?
I threw out my back. Just
My wife needed me.
Oh no,
get it.
we just pure chickened out. I imagine if Ed was next to us, he probably would have peer pressured us into it. But thank Christ he was on the other side of the ring,
Right.
spending time with his wife and child instead of badgering us into competing in sumo wrestling.
Ed was probably waiting for you guys to show up so that he could step in there and go up against you too.
Oh God.
Ooh, I got these guys.
Yeah.
Oh no.
No, it was awesome. And then we finished off the evening by heading out to Texas Sake, which is a bar owned by Justin of Dark Circle Sumo.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sweet gig there, day job, having a bar, with custom sakes and stuff like that. And then moonlighting as a sumo wrestler. Pretty interesting guy there, that's for sure.
What are we doing with our lives?
We're sitting in this room podcasting.
We
Making
could
a
have
living.
that.
We're
I don't know.
talking we're talking about people more interesting than us.
Fair.
That's
Hey,
what
that's
we're
what-
best at.
It's what we've been doing for years now.
Yeah.
Also true.
So yeah, it was the national tournament, absolute blast. Again, shout out to Justin and Dark Circle Sumo, Ed and the U.S. Sumo Federation, Sumo Kaboom for live streaming and doing commentary. Just an excellent time all around. Mac, I see you had a list here of some opportunities coming up for people to see sumo themselves.
Indeed, we do. So coming up on the United States Sumo Federation list of events, we have one coming out at the end of this month, August 28th. It is the Iron Belly Sumo Tournament down in Florida. That's going to be put on by Cornelius Booker and Coringa Conway. So please, if you want to check that out, by all means, go for it. I hope it is live streamed. Dear God, I hope it's live streamed.
Yep.
Next in the agenda, we have October 16th. That is the 11th Mighty Eagles Sumo Tournament down in San Antonio, Texas. They were able to live stream that one again, so tune in. If not, check them out. November 13th is the second annual Consulates Cup in Austin, Texas. And then we have, there's one I'm forgetting. Nope, I have that later on there. Coming up July 7th, we have the World Games in 2022, Birmingham, Alabama. Be sure to get your tickets. Those are on sale now. And
Most importantly, though, in
December 11th. Yes, December 11th, North American Sumo Championships in Vegas, baby.
and that one determines who goes to the
World Games.
Yeah, so this was this one in June was like to crown, this is the sanctioned U.S. sumo champion for these weight classes. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to international competition. That's what Vegas is to determine what the U.S. delegation is to that international tournament.
And that's where you guys are throwing on the Mawashi.
Exactly. Yes.
Yes.
Of course. So yes, that one is happening in Vegas. And before that, what we are really hoping to do is get some more information. Mac, Mac, you made a Twitter post the other day about this as well, right?
I did, but I need your help. So I am building a database of all the clubs and participants along with all of their records. I have a good amount of data, but of course, we're the spreadsheet guys. We want more. So if you're willing and able, please send us all that information on your club and how many members are affiliated with it and their records. I would love to start compiling that and start comparing it. Love to see some rivalries building between all these different organizations.
Yes, and as always, if you are a sumo wrestler and you have stories you want to tell, contact us. We could do an episode like this over and over and over again for every tournament that we go to, every tournament that happens, even if we don't manage to get there. There's so much. It was similar to when you first get into sumo, there's just it's like this whole hidden universe that you're discovering and you just dive in. US sumo is like that as well. Being there in person really made the difference. We've seen a couple matches, maybe a tournament here or there online, but being there in person and seeing how close knit this community is, and seeing how much fun it can be to even just to hang out, not even participate like from our perspective, but just to hang out, see what's going on, and just discover another hidden universe like that. We want to hear more stories from anybody who does compete, or even if you don't, if you if you have stories from the US sumo scene, we got a podcast. We want to put stuff out, so get in touch with us.
Yeah. Speaking of stories, before we wrap up the podcast, what are each of your guys' favorite moments from that weekend, sumo related or not? But what was your favorite moment from that weekend?
I have to think about that one. Sorry,
Yeah,
Jake.
you should have given us some prep on that one.
Right?
I think my favorite.
When it only comes to me 5 minutes ago to ask.
Honestly, I can't. I'm having trouble narrowing it down. I think
I know.
My list, though, my top moments are all comprised of the moments where we got to talk to somebody after their matches. Just people milling about, grabbing some pizza or grabbing a beer or whatever at the concession stand, stuff like that. Just at least for me, Mac, I think you're a little more extroverted than I am, but like for me, starting a conversation with a stranger is literally worse than the worst thing that can happen to me. But there was nobody that made it a painful experience by any means. Every single person that I approached was happy to talk about their club, happy to talk about their their matches, their personal experience, stuff like that. So yeah, I think there's too many to call out everybody by name. But Marky was awesome from the Appalachian Sumo Club. We talked to Kyle Ferreter, the open weight champion. We talked to Alabama, the guy
The entire state?
The entire
No,
state.
that is just
showed
his name.
Well,
The
his name
country
is
music
Andrew.
band Alabama?
Well, yes, but everybody calls him Alabama.
Yeah, but he showed up. He was interesting because he doesn't practice with a club specifically. He just showed up, won light heavyweight, and went home. Like
His experience was in just general wrestling, and he just comes in and wrecks everything.
Yeah. I mentioned Alex was a first-time lightweight competitor. Excellent to talk to. He and his wife we hung out with at Texas Sake with those two, with Austin later. That was a blast. From Grand Rapids, we had Gabe, who is looking into maybe even building a clay dojo himself out in Michigan as like an art project. Not necessarily as like a permanent training facility, but as like an art project to like as a cultural type of thing, just to learn about what that consists of and have fun with that. We already mentioned Florida Sumo. I said there were too many to mention everyone by name, but I'm kind of trying.
You had the Oni Sumo Club. That was fantastic.
And Honu Sumo from San Diego. We talked to Caleb and some of the other guys from Lone Star Sumo. Lone Star, Mighty Eagle. Mac, help me. What's the distinction there?
So there was once one club, and it was just Lone Star. And then Justin Kisser said, well, I want to make my own place. And another Tom Zabel said, well, I'm going to make my own place. And so what was one fractured into five.
Okay. So there's a lot of them now. Got it.
Yes, there are quite a few of them now.
Yeah.
Most recent of which would be the Dallas Sumo Club, which we've been talking to them on Twitter.
Gotcha. Yeah, and big shout out to the couple people who knew who we were again. We were approached by Austin in the wild. Gabriella, if you're listening as well, thank you for
that.
For
was
saying
probably
hello.
the most fun for me. Was just she walks up and throws her hands out like, "Are you them?" We're like, "Yes." Like, oh my gosh, I love sumo. And just learning more about how she'd been watching sumo from Romania and how this really just reminded her a lot of her childhood. That it was just great. Just like echoing what you were saying before. Loved the community, loved all the different individual stories and just the general excited atmosphere and camaraderie with everything. Everyone was there to have a great time. Everyone was there just to enjoy the sport and enjoy each other's company. I mean, it truly amazing.
Oh yeah, and as hard as everyone was competing, like the second that we touched the ground, everyone was all smiles and like, oh, you should have done this or you should have done that. It's great.
Justin
atmosphere.
Jones, another incredible guy, but also as soon as the match was over, all smiles. It's like, you got me. But in the ring, He is
Yep.
stern. He is ready to go.
Exactly. Yeah, and but yeah, with fans that knew who we were, just cosplaying as a celebrity for an afternoon was just
We did it.
no, that's funny. Like we would do this podcast anyways, but
One
inflating our
other,
egos is definitely a big help.
Oh yeah.
One other big takeaway, and I confirmed this with Justin and was able to finally collect on it. They delivered to Iowa, and I'm so happy.
For
Max-
those listening in podcast form, Mac is holding up a bottle of Texas sake.
Not
looks like
just.
oak flavored.
They did not have this when we were down there. Once I saw it was in stock, I'm like, I need a bottle of this. It was worth the wait.
That's awesome. Oh, and last shout out for the episode here. Big ups to Abdi, my cab driver who got me to the airport the next day. That is the only part of my entire travel experience that was not a complete disaster. He
You had
totally
a hell of a
crushed it.
time.
Oh my god, I unless we want to double the length of this podcast, I will not get into it. But yes, cab driver totally killed it. Yeah, that it was a huge relief after literally everything else going wrong.
All right. So if you enjoy US Sumo or this podcast, or you just enjoy something, anything at all, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast.
Or if you're a
listening
miserable
service.
jerk who doesn't like anything, you can find us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all the junk. And our blog, Mac, we got something coming out on our blog here.
Yep. So I am still working my way through the write-up of the Nationals event. I am going through assigning Kimarite to everything, which mad respect for the guys that watch this in the booth and the Shinpan on the sides actually just watching going, okay, did he step out? Like, where was it? How was the technique? Where was his arm position? It's a lot harder than you think. So
Just call
I am-
everything at Tsukio Toshi and call it good.
I tried that, except Sumo Kaboom actually called out their own Kimarite a few times. So it's like, crap, I can't just say Shukyo Toshi anymore.
But yeah,
So
check that
that is
out.
coming. I promise.
That'll be coming on our blog, GrandSumoBreakdown.wordpress.com.
But if you know of any, if you've been watching, seen any specific Kimarite that I'm probably going to get wrong, drop us a line at grandsumobreakdown@gmail.com or give us a call at 805-613-7866. That's 805-613-SUMO.
All right. We got some other stuff coming up probably before the next Bonds Cake comes out. Don't 100% know what it is, but it'll be there. So check it out when it comes.
That aforementioned new job is kicking
Yeah,
my
you
ass.
look
so
beat.
we'll get there. We'll get there. But we appreciate everybody sticking with us, and thanks again to everybody that we met down in Austin, and we hope to see all you guys again soon.
Absolutely.
Except for that asshole Tyler.
At least you remembered the right name.
I
That's
know,
something.
right?
Thank you for listening to Grand Sumo Breakdown. Until next time,
Throw your salt high.
And keep moving forward.